DebtFree.cf, and I'm going to go through setting up my December budget right now. Going to set that up, and then I'll tell you a little bit about some of my goals for kind of wrapping up the end of the year and then going into next year. And then what you should be really excited about is at the end of this month, I'm going to show you the calculations of what has been spent in every category over the entire year, because I'm going to use some of the different cells through my Google Sheets to calculate all of that, and then show you kind of a pie chart that explains how much percentage of my income goes to each of the different categories. And then you should also check out, I'm going to post this month some guides to how to set up a budget for using Excel, because it's very similar to Google Sheets, but there are a few things that are different, and so I'll walk you through step by step just like I did with the Google Sheets. So if you want to see those, come back to my channel and check those out, because those will be posted later. Okay, so I'm setting up my December 2017 budget, and I'm going along just kind of getting an idea of what I need to allot, and some of the things are known, which I've put in and I'm going to go over, and then some of the things I've yet to actually set up. So estimated in a month, probably make around 21 to 2300. It fluctuates a little bit with sick leave and overtime, which happens when I can't get off a call during my actual end hours and go over a bit, and then certain commissions, bonuses, whatever. Those don't happen too often, but it does fluctuate a little bit. So it could be a little bit lower, it could be a little bit higher. In fact, this past week, so the end of November leading into the beginning of December, which will be a pay check that I receive in the second week of December, I did have to take some sick hours. I had some kind of cold or completely lost my voice, and to answer a phone when you have no speaking ability is very difficult. So I was sleeping some of it off, taking medication, but I was also working partial hours as much as I could without feeling too like head heavy, while working on support through like an internal email system. So I was doing that, pretty much cleared up by the end of the week, so I'm doing okay now. Hopefully I won't need any other sick days between now and the end of the month, but we'll see. I've got plenty saved, it's not a big deal. So in the last video, I had a certain amount that I knew was being allotted from the third paycheck within November that would be shared into the first couple days of December. And I also had a little bit left over in like the left to allocate section of kind of what goes into sinking funds, calculated the daily amount for what should have gone from the November check into the December days, how many days of the week need to be covered by that check in terms of just overhead, so like how much I eat, that kind of thing. If I were to break down my rent to a day-to-day basis, that kind of thing. But overall, there's $320.63, which carried over from one to the other, minus, this is already minus some of the cyber spending. And then there was one other thing we decided to purchase. My partner and I decided to get a cat tree, like the jungle gym things that cats climb on, and so there was a cyber deal, so that's in here already as well. And then we're each going to contribute about $44 to the sinking fund for the pets over the course of 12 months. And then I know that this month, which is part of what's calculated in the sinking fund, that the dog is going to need his nails trimmed this month. In fact, I'm going to do that probably after the video. So those expenses are known. Then I have the calculation in here of how much was transferred for rent, since rent happens to come out of my checking account, just how it's set up. So the portion of the rent, partner's contribution towards the food fund, minus some of the shared expenses of the utilities and cell phone that's on a family plan type thing, his half of the pet information, and then a little bit that was an unknown amount over calculation-ish of the expenses for the pets from last month, just kind of balancing that back to zero. So in total, there's already an amount coming in. Now, it'll look a little bit strange that I'm in the red right now and already paying rent at the beginning of the month, but because I'm working actually a month ahead, working a month ahead means I have an entire month's extra expenses in my account that's aside from the 6 months emergency fund, although mine is really an 8 months emergency fund, so I really have way more than extra. I always have extra in the account. I could pay double rent out of a single month without getting a paycheck coming in, just to make things a little bit easier rather than having to transfer funds all the time. And so more or less what happens is as I get paychecks throughout the month, they're really putting the money back for the bills that have been paid at the beginning of the month, and then prepping for bills that are going to be coming up at the next month's beginning of the month, saving towards that. So there's always a little bit of wiggle room, which is good, and that's because of being debt-free. Then I've got my standard insurance that I have to pay at the end of this month. I'm actually going to be draining the accounts right now. The car insurance sinking fund has $195, which is my 6-month tally. And then I've already scheduled for that check to be sent. My bank mails it for me. It's kind of neat. And I know that that's going to be scheduled towards the end of the month. And then the other kind of things that I have set up, you'll notice I've got a couple of blank boxes that used to be filled in before. Gone over the medical stuff for the course of the year, and I didn't even use the $200, so I'm thinking of maybe dropping this a little bit lower. I am planning to go to Korea, maybe part of Japan or Hong Kong or Taiwan or something. Definitely Korea, but maybe some other places towards the end of next spring, beginning of next summer. So probably in kind of the May to June range. I have a friend, a really close friend who is going to be moving there, and what better way to go see a place I've never been and have free housing, and then maybe a couple of day trips out, or even like an overnight that's not paid for housing wise, stay at a Airbnb or a hotel or whatever I'm going to end up finding, and go sightsee and experience the continent of Asia. I've never been to any part in Asia, so I'm really excited about that. I've talked to a couple of people, and they've guesstimated that about $100 per day of spending, but that also included transportation on trains where you can get like a whole week pass, food, gifts, and then Airbnb or hotels. I was also told that Airbnb actually exists in Japan. It's not technically legal, but you can figure it out, and that makes it far cheaper than actually staying in a hotel. So I'm going to just do a rough estimate of $100 a day, plus I'm going to have to get my flights on top of that. So my goal probably, and so I'm going to put this as like the end of the amount of what I'm looking for, and I'm going to kind of work out the numbers over the next month or two, is probably going to be about $1,200. Not sure exactly how many days I'm going, and not sure what I'm going to find in terms of flights, but I also don't have to account for a roof over my head every night that I have to pay for. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that and work with my budget as much as I can to try to get as close to that as possible. So that means in the travel vacation area, and I'm going to put this as a goal, is going to be $1,200, and I'll adjust that as necessary. And of course that's going to mess up my number in here, so I have to figure out what cell this is, which it is 16, and then in here in my L calculations take out L16 because it's going to mess up my numbers. And then I submitted $900 to my Roth, bringing it up to $3,230 for the entire year of 2017. And calculated in the last video that I need to do somewhere around $680 per month for the next 2 months to max out that account. So my goal for this month is to send 700, and then next month I'll just send whatever is left. And then that'll also free up some for saving for Korea, although I may be reducing a little bit for my Roth IRA in order to go to Korea, which is perfectly okay with me because travel of a lifetime. I think that's pretty much it. I did recalculate the numbers I had mentioned in this bottom one, where basically this is kind of the free amount between bank accounts that are linked to some kind of debit card for pulling out cash or transactions for grocery shopping and so forth. And that's kind of where I'm working with some of these numbers if I have to do a miscellaneous purchase, or I have some gifts that I'm going to probably still purchase. Not a huge gift exchange person. Like a lot of my family members don't do big gift swapping anymore. Partly I tell them I don't want anything, I don't need anything. If I do need something and it is something that's a little bit more expensive, I will be upfront about that I'm looking to purchase it. I'm, shopping around, finding a good deal, and sometimes I'll get, a contribution for that. But, that doesn't even really come up anymore because financially I'm quite a bit more stable than I was when I was in college and just graduating college and grad student. So yeah, I think that's probably what my budget's going to look like. I know that I didn't update the retirement amount yet, but that's because I haven't really gone through each of the different accounts and how they break down. The market fluctuates, so this number may actually even go down a little bit, which is normal. That's why it stays there for 15, 20 years. And I will do a check-in later that'll fill in some of these numbers partway through, and then I'll wrap it up just around the new year. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Otherwise, you can subscribe, and that'll notify you when a new video is coming out, which this month, what's exciting is there's going to be some tutorials about how to set up a budget much like this, but in Excel. This is Google Sheets, so that's why it says all changes saved to Drive. And I will go through step by step with the formatting, coloration, the layout. I may do just the left side again, where it's just literally the budget and not all the baby steps. The baby steps is something that I follow just to kind of keep me on track and help me long-term see goals and work towards that. And then the steps for 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all kind of running all at the same time. So I'm saving 15% plus into retirement. Don't have kids, don't plan on having kids, so that is kind of a skipped step. But for people that are planning on having kids, they might be saving up for college education or other expenses like summer camps that come up once a year, or fund it for different school supplies and sports activities, lessons of some kind, musical, whatever. Then step 6 is a down payment on a house if you don't already own one. Otherwise, if you do already own a house, it's paying the mortgage off faster than the 30 years so that you don't pay as much interest. So that's the goal I'm working on. I'm not like 100% sure I want to purchase a house, but I would rather save for a house and not do anything with it and then move it into a retirement fund or something later. Stock market, I don't know, than to not have anything at all, because I was just like, well, I didn't think I was going to buy a house, so I didn't save anything. And then step 7 is actually building wealth, which is currently what my retirement is doing, and then what I'm doing if I don't buy a house, and then what I'm doing if I do buy a house and I buy it with very little left on the mortgage that has to continue to be paid off. But that, of course, depends where you buy. So this is DebtFree.cf. Thanks for watching, and check out some of the other videos coming this month. Thanks. See you later.